In this video, we are going to discuss some of the note-taking strategies, why it is important for us to take notes, what are different note-taking methods, whether we should be using an application or a physical pen and diary, how we become more productive by taking audio notes, and at the end, what are some of the things which we should avoid while taking notes. So let's get started after a short break. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Tahir, and if this is your first time, please hit the subscribe button because YouTube is telling me that only 12% of my viewers have subscribed to my channel. So I would highly appreciate if you hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video on this channel every Tuesday and Friday. And now first have a look at some of the activities which are considered as note-taking activities. The first one is obvious that if you are listening to a lecture, a presentation, a tutorial, or even to a speech, and you want to refer back to that information, you might be interested in taking notes. Then if you are reading some text, then there are two types of activities which are considered as note-taking. The first one is that if you are highlighting some of the text, it is a note-taking activity, and also you can take written notes by writing on a diary or typing in an electronic application such as Microsoft OneNote or Evernote. Also, sometimes we brainstorm as a team or as an individual around a specific topic. In that case, we might be making some mind map, which is also a form of note-taking. Another form of note-taking is that when we want to make an action plan or to-do list, then we might be interested in taking some notes, what we have to do in a step-by-step manner. Another form of note-taking is called concept maps, where we know something previously and then suddenly we got some new information from any source, from a presentation, from a YouTube video, from a lecture, and then we want to make a connection between the known knowledge and the new information which we just got. And we quickly draw a concept map. So all these activities are form of note-taking. Now the first question is why we want to take notes. Now there are three main reasons. The first is that we want to refer back to some information which we think is important for us. But you might have already noticed that a lot of notes which we have taken in our diaries, we never go back to those notes. And even if we never refer back to our notes, the activity of taking notes itself improves our ability to memorize things, because when we are writing, it's a form of repetition and it improves the chances of memorizing that information. And here I would like to mention another important thing is that research shows that handwritten notes or taking notes with the handwriting is more beneficial than typed notes. And I have mentioned in my previous videos that I always keep a physical diary and pen with me, and it helped me a lot in doing my PhD in time. I have also designed a diary for PhD students which is available on Amazon. It is called DigitIdea Diary 1. If you are a PhD students watching this video, because some of my subscribers are PhD students, you might consider getting that diary, because that is a journal designed for PhD students and it will help you organize your notes. And the third important reason we want to take notes is that we want to be more productive. We don't want to waste our time on getting certain information which we have already obtained. So notes are also a summary of what we have learned. Now let's talk about various methods of taking notes. The most common method is key sentence method, where whenever you get some key sentence in the speech, in the presentation, or in a lecture, you capture that sentence on your notebook. And how you recognize that it is a key sentence? Most of the time, the presenter itself tells you. The presenter will say something like this: the most important point is this. The most critical information is this. The point I want to make is this. Something like that. So you capture that information on your notes. Then there is another method which is called list method. And list method means that you take notes in the form of 1, 2, 3. And then you can also make subpoints 1.1, 2.1. Now this method is not very useful for all applications, in particular for scientific applications, because in scientific applications the knowledge is not presented to you in a sequential method. And I would not prefer this method until you are making a to-do list or an action plan for your any quick project. Then there is a method called mapping method. Mapping method is very good when you are trying to get some ideas around a specific topic. For example, you are 5 team members and you throw an idea how to promote our company, let's say, and you ask every team member to come up with one idea. So there is a central idea, then there are 5 different ideas, and then you make a map, which is also called mind map, and you take notes in a visual manner, which is a very good note-taking technique. I have a separate video on mind mapping, which you can watch. Another method is called Cornell method, which was developed by a professor Walter in 1950s. And he suggested that your note-taking page should be divided in 3 parts. On the right, you have a large portion for main notes. On the left, you put some keywords. And at the bottom, there is a portion for writing the summary of your notes on this page. So if you want to be more organized, you can use this method, in particular when you are reading and taking notes. And there are other 2 methods which are not commonly used. One is drawing method and one is charting method. Drawing method is useful for engineers, where instead of writing all the details, you try to make a drawing of the objects. And this drawing conveys you some critical information about what you want to do. And in the charting method, you make few columns, just like an Excel spreadsheet, and you put certain information in those columns. Not very commonly used, but these are also valid methods of note taking. Now, there are 2 important skills closely associated with taking notes. One are your listening skills and one are your reading skills. So, you should be active listener. You should remove all the distractions. Turn off your mobile phone when you are in a presentation and keep your focus and attention on the topic. Now, there are 2 types of situations when you are taking notes. One is that when you are listening to someone, and the other is when you are reading. And now I will give you few tips for both of these situations. Now let's first talk about when you are listening and taking notes. When you are listening to a presenter, normally you don't have much time to write down a complete sentence. So therefore, what you can do is just write down some keywords. And I have discussed the importance of keywords in many of my other videos, which you can watch, and how you should select some keywords for your particular field of research or field of interest. Now the second tip is that you try to use abbreviations. Instead of, for example, just type EG, instead of etc., type ETC. Similarly, CH for chapters, P for page, PP for pages, and so on. You got the point. Another thing you can do is try to use symbols, equals, not equals, arrows, lines. No, you should not panic when you are taking notes during a presentation. Don't try to write everything. Wait for the important sentences, as I mentioned, and then take notes. No, you are listening to a presenter and suddenly you got a very important point. You know something about this previously, but now you got some additional information. Now, immediately what you should do is draw these 2 concepts and make a link. This is your concept map. Now let's talk about some of the tips about taking notes when you are reading some article, a journal paper, a textbook, a web page or anything. Now before you start taking notes or before you even start reading any article, make sure that you have qualified that article for your reading or taking notes. And for example, it's a journal paper, and the way you qualify would be to read the abstract, to read the conclusion. So these 2 are very important sections, the first one and the last one, and of course the title as well. And based on these 3 important sections, titles, abstract and conclusion, you decide whether you should read this or not. Similarly, in a book, you have an introduction, you have the index of all the information. Have a look at that and qualify for your reading. And don't just start taking notes by simply looking at the title of some articles, because nowadays there are many misleading titles and you will waste time. Now, second important thing is that avoid excessive annotations. For example, you are reading a PDF book, you are highlighting few sentences, then you are adding some notes or comments on that by using some annotation tools. I also have a video on annotation tools. how to annotate a PDF document. You can watch that video, but do not excessively annotate your document. Otherwise, the important material will lose its importance because everything is highlighted now. And this happens to everyone. We start reading something, we highlight, we read next sentence and we think, oh, this is also important. Then we highlight, then we read the next sentence and we think that it is important. Then we try to change the colors and these type of things. So this is a practice which is not good. Now one tip is about handwritten notes, because when you are reading something you have plenty of time. So you tend to start taking handwritten notes as soon as you start reading an article. This sometimes results in loss of time because, as I mentioned, that a lot of titles are misleading. They are not relevant to your field of research or field of interest. So until you have read at least 50% of the article for that particular session, that particular day, do not start taking notes. So for example, if you have devoted 2 hours for reading, so you start taking your handwritten notes after 1 hour, when you really think that this is important and you should take notes. Now these notes must be in your own words. Now the last tip is very important, and I would recommend this to those PhD students who are watching this video, that whenever you have finished a very important article which is highly related to your field of research, what you should do is you should take an audio note and record an audio and save it. For example, open OneNote for Windows application, record your audio, put some keywords, some important keywords about that particular topic, so that you can make this note as searchable later on, and then this audio will be saved on Microsoft OneDrive. You can search this later on and it will save you a lot of time when you are writing your literature review or your PhD thesis. So audio notes are very productive. Try this and you will feel the benefits, because when you have freshly read some article, you know what was this article all about. You can make a summary in audio form and you can save it. Now this video is becoming very long, so at the end of this video I would like to show you some mistakes which normally people do while taking notes. So you should avoid these things while taking notes. Never start taking notes without an objective. What is your purpose of taking notes? Whether you want to summarize your ideas, whether you want to summarize a journal paper for your literature review, whether you are writing a paper and you want some information about a specific topic, without an objective, you should never take notes. It's a waste of time. Do not highlight excessively, as I already explained. Do not use multicolor highlighting. And when you are taking notes in short session, until you have read one paragraph, you should not take any notes. So read the paragraph. And take note. And this is the best way to practice as well. Take any paragraph on any website or from any journal, read one paragraph and then close the source and try to write 1 or 2 sentences for what you have learned or memorized in your mind. So this is a good practice, and you should not spend too much time on taking notes, because I have seen there was one student in my class who was spending too much time of taking notes, all kinds of notes, during the class, after the class, all the books. So do not do this, because that is not good. It's a waste of time. So these were some of the points about taking notes. I hope you like this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and see you next time.